like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast. And man, I don't know about both of you, but man, am I looking forward to being done with this. When I say done, I don't really mean done. I mean, it's like this is the coolest part of it. I think it's you go through, like I was part of, all seven of our births. Um, and for our children, and it's, man, does a woman go through so much physical pain. It's like, wow. And to see how she forgets that. Like I can see why, a woman would have one child. What I don't understand is why any woman would have two. like, like once you have one, like you don't know, but when you go through it once, but that's, who knows? It's like round and round my mind goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. You guys are free to jump in and interrupt for sure, ask questions or whatever. But today in part five, so is there any healing? Is there any hope? And there is. And I think in one of the previous ones I talked about when I was 22 and went into that counselor, right? And he gave me I think I shared that, right?
I'm not sure.
We probably ought to do it again then. So, so we go through all the pain. We get, I'm supposed to forgive, or dad acknowledges, says it's not happening again. And we go through that, and I'm supposed to forgive, and everything's supposed to be happy thereafter. And it didn't work like that. I mean, it didn't. The pain, the emotional pain was so excruciating. It was like 24/7. It was so painful. And so we got married. And so for 2 years, I went through, that pain just all the time. Like it was just nonstop. And, I didn't try to commit suicide, but the thoughts were definitely there. I mean, it's like, I can't. And finally, we're both in college, for poor college students. And I'm like, I've got to get some help. I've never been in counseling in my life. And so I'm like, I got to get some help. So I go into a counselor, he's a Christian counselor, and I go in, and I don't know, I'm in there for a couple months or something like that, a while, 2, 3 months, and it's not helping. I mean, it's just not helping. And we can't afford it financially. I mean, it's costly. I mean, it's like for poor college students, at least, it's like we can't afford it and it's not helping. So I go in after, I don't know, a few months, and I go in, I say, listen, I'm going to have to stop this. We can't go ahead and continue to afford this. And I said, I need to be healed today. And he looked at me and kind of cocked his head. He says, Mark, that's not how it works. And I said, it is with me. And he kind of chuckles a little bit. And he says, well, Mark, like, let me explain something, to you. You're trying to take ownership of things that, like, you're a fiance. You're supposed to prevent this from happening. Like it's wired in any normal man to prevent the women around you from being sexually abused. And so you have all these feelings, like these massive amount of feelings, like just, you know, and and you're taught as men, well, you used to be taught as men, that your feelings don't really matter. And I think that's a good thing. Probably another podcast, you can write it down and say, so my theory is men, yeah, your feelings, they don't matter. And I don't mean they're irrelevant. I don't mean you should ignore them. I'm just saying that we don't look at feelings the way we should. Anyways, I'm all confused. I'm hurt. I'm angry. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, Mark, you're trying to take ownership and you can't. You're trying to figure it out intellectually and you won't ever be able to. I think I have, but at the time, I'm 22 years old. And he's like, see, there's nothing you could have done to stop it. So you gotta understand that. If you don't go ahead and learn to forgive, and I was confused because it's like I knew like there's no way that my wife could have stopped it, you know, but I did question, like, you're 19 years old, like why don't you slug the guy? Like I can see it happening once, but like two, three times while we're engaged, that I can't process that. Like once, that's it. You you slug him or you tell me. So I couldn't understand. Like I could not understand. And so he said, you won't understand it. And I'm like, okay. He says, and if you don't learn to forgive her dad, mom, her, if you don't learn to forgive, it'll destroy your marriage and all your future children. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like intellectually, I could, like, okay, that makes sense. He says, going forward, it's from this point on, you didn't have control over what happened to you when you were 19. You didn't have control. Like there's this process that goes on, like I should have been able to see it. When I look back, I saw, why didn't you see this and this and this and this? So there's all the, like I could have stopped it. I could have seen it if I would have. You become super hyper sensitive, like your brain, like they say in brain science that when I talk about, like, I think it has hurt me far more than it's hurt my wife on a conscious level. Like I can talk about it, I can get angry or aggressive, or I can, you've seen some of these outbursts. I think that, but I think I have control over that. My wife, it's like there's just nothing, there's no feeling there at all. She's not angry with her mom or dad. It's just nothing. There's just nothing there. And I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying it's bad. There's not judgment. It's just an understanding. It's just an understanding.
Do you know, Mark, if she would go numb when it would happen?
Well, I think she would just black out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she would just black out. She just like, and then I think she would erase the memories. And so when we're engaged, when we're engaged and she sees me, then it's like, this is wrong. It's almost like it when he, like, we don't know when it started. We know there's a very specific memory at the age of 12, like very, very specific.
Yeah.
And so that we know. And then there's pieces from 12 to 18 when we started dating. But those memories would be fluid. Like she doesn't remember some of the things that she told me that he did. Now, I'll never forget them. Partly maybe because I'm a guy, maybe partly because it was my fiance, maybe partly because I'm an empath, maybe partly because I can visualize things. I can visualize it's as if I was there.
Yeah.
And so, like watching the whole thing. And so the amount of pain, it's just, it's, it's beyond understanding. I can't find words to explain it. And so he said, if you don't forgive, you'll destroy your marriage and any future children you have. So that was simple. So this is why I take such great ownership in things and have an understanding of ownership that I do. And so he said, you, 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 these are things you can't take, you shouldn't be taking ownership in. So there's good guilt and bad guilt. Good guilt is guilt that we have that we should have, and bad guilt is guilt that we have that we shouldn't have. Women tend to have an abundance of negative guilt that they have that they shouldn't have. This is not healthy. So they just do. Like when she was, when we had 7 kids and she was homeschooling a stay-at-home mom, and she's like, I feel guilty that I'm not spending more time with the kids. How can you, like, it's just weird, but women are weird. They just are. Another whole, this, like, it's not going to be women and weird being weird. It's not going to take 5 podcasts. Like, this is going to go on. And so it's like, honey, you're stay-at-home mom, you're homeschooling. You can't spend more time with your kids. Like, it's just not possible. And so women have all of this, they're just wired for negative guilt. This is not healthy, because I believe that when you have negative guilt, like negative guilt is guilt that we have that we shouldn't have. And so I believe I understand this from that experience. So I don't, like, I probably ought to go through and create a list. And if you guys want to bug me, you can, on all of the positive things that that I see because of this experience. Like, it's crazy. And so fast forward 22, 23, 24, 25 years, 24 to 26 years, fast forward, we're in marriage counseling. And this guy's like, we lay out what's happening, or family counseling. So we lay out what's happened in our family. So this would have been about 20 years ago. And we lay out to this counselor, and this guy has 27 years, he's got like 3 PhDs in psychology and family psychology. Like, this guy's, he's got over, 24 plus years in counseling families. He's a pastor. I mean, this dude is highly educated, highly experienced. And we lay out everything that's happened in our family. And he just shakes his head. He said, I've never seen a family get hit like you guys ever. This is before Jonathan's death. This is before things got hard. But I remember when he said, he's just shaking his head. I said, I've never seen anything like what's happened to you guys ever. And I had 2 feelings. One is I felt good, because I'm like, okay, good. I thought I was just a wuss. I thought, it's not that bad. People in inner city, they have 3 of their sons and their dad, husband gets shot, and, girls that are being raped, like child trafficked 30 times a day. Like, my pain is not that big of a deal. So he kind of acknowledged, and I thought, okay, good. I mean, there's something there. And then he says, it's like, what I see is your family's in an oil well, like a oil platform in the middle of the ocean, and there's 4 pylons going deep into the bedrock, and there's 4 cruise missiles that hit all 4 of them at the same time, and you guys are adrift. And then I told him about what happened at 18, 19, 20, 21. And I said, I'm thankful that it's happened. I mean, I'm thankful that it happened. And he looked at me and he's like, what? I said, yeah, no, I'm glad. He's like, why? I said, because of all the benefit that I've got. Now, I'm not stupid. I mean, if I could be the person I am today without that, man, I'd take that heartbeat. Like, but the things I see, I don't think I could see. I don't think I could have the empathy. I don't think I could have the understanding of women. I don't think I would have the confidence. I don't think that I wouldn't be anything close to what I am, the person. And a lot of people don't like that. And it's okay too. They don't like me. And that's okay. There's 8 billion people, And so it's equipped me to think in a very different way. And he's like, in the 24 plus years of like my practice, he said, I have never in my life heard somebody say that ever. I'm like, really? So I go back to when I'm 22 years old and go back to 22. And he's like, you take ownership. Like, from this point going forward, what are you going to do with what you have? And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was 50% healed. Just bam, like that, just by taking ownership. Just by taking ownership, I was 50% healed. So I go home and, rather than 24/7, rather than 24/7, I'm only in pain 12 hours, half of the day. Which, again, people who haven't been in pain, they think half a day of pain 7 days a week. They think that's hard. It's not. Like, it's like, wow. Like, you see the clouds and you feel something. You're like, whoa. Like, it's so cool. 50% pain. That's so amazing. And again, people who haven't experienced it, they have no idea. They have no idea how much pain. And so I go back in the next week and I say, man, this has been an awesome week. I've only had pain 50% of the time. I'm 50% healed. This is so cool. And I said, I want the other 50% today. He laughs. He cocks his head, looks at me. He's like, Mark, that's not how it works. I said, it is with me. So, being a poor college student really helped. Not being able to afford it really helped. I mean, I think that, that's the Dutch background, like my parents, very conservative, don't pay. Like, if I had a lot of money, I may still be in therapy, which is not. And so people get the wrong impression. This guy might have saved my life. They think I'm against therapy. I'm not. I mean, and I'm not saying my experience is everybody else's experience. I'm just saying I know you can get healed, and I know you can get healed fast. I know you can do it without medication. I just know that. Now, I'm not saying everybody else. I'm just saying for me, that's my story. It is what it is. And so then he says, well, Mark, think of it this way. So he's a Christian, and he says, the devil is trying to destroy you, your marriage, your future family. Like, he is seeking to destroy you. I'm like, okay, I get that. And he's like, it's a war. Now, again, I don't know that this would work for a woman, but it did for me. like it's a war. Like, it is a war. It's flesh on flesh bone. I mean, it's just absolutely violent, vicious. It is a war. And he says, so he's going to attack you, your mind, and he's going to destroy everything. And it's like, again, it's ownership first. Like, own the things you should and don't own the things you shouldn't. If you take ownership of things you shouldn't take ownership, you're going to have negative guilt. If you have negative guilt, you won't have the energy to have positive guilt. Positive guilt is guilt we should have that helps us to change, helps us to heal. And it's like, okay. And so he says, so when the devil attacks you, you have to attack the devil harder. You have to pay him, make him pay more. Like, it's violent. It's just violent. You have to go ahead. And as a man, my personality, I don't know what it was, 22 years being protective of my wife. We didn't have kids at the time, but we were planning on having kids. I'm like, it's a war. They're going to destroy you, Mark. And so this is why it's so hard to beat an opponent if they're fighting for their land. If you're going in for wars over history, like, far outgunned, but if you're taking somebody's home, if you're taking somebody's family, if you're taking somebody's wife and kids, you know what? Man, I'm telling you. So the warrior, it's like he says, what do you do to attack? And being raised Baptist, very conservative, it's like, you share Christ. It's you share your belief. You try to help other people see God in the way, Baptists do, which another whole series of podcasts far beyond 5, it's like, and so it's like, okay, so you're going to share the gospel. You're going to share, Christ. You're going to do that. And it's like, oh yeah, the devil hates that more than anything else. So people say, Mark, I think you have a gift of evangelism. I don't. It all goes back to that 22 years old, just trying to survive. And I could feel it, like the warrior in me kicked in. And so personally, well, that's a man thing. Is it? Like, is it a man thing? I've seen women, like, especially Amish. Whoa. I see them play softball. My gracious. So women, and I have 4 daughters and a wife, and it looks like my wife isn't competitive, and she isn't. And, most sports she's not. But she's playing pickleball now at 60 years old. And, ooh, does she get sassy when she misses? Like women, they're more like, they can be more competitive. They have more of a fire. Man, so I don't know. I mean, they make it look like they're nice and whatever, but they're not. They're nasty little bugger. Like they can. So I think it would work for a woman. Like I just visualize, enemy trying to kill my wife or my kids or another woman, or another children. And so the warrior inside of me kicked in and I said, okay. So I said, I'm healed. It's a miracle. I'm healed 100%. And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, let me try to explain. Cause he knew he's never going to see me again. He could feel it. And he said, let me explain how the brain works for you. And I'm like, okay. And he said, you know how you 50% healed just like that? I said, yep. And then he says, now you're 100% healed. I said, yep. He said, see, the brain has synapses, memories, they connect. So Tom Kuhn says that he doesn't think we forget anything. Like every memory, everything we see is somehow recorded in our brain. It's never forgotten. You just never forget anything you see. So good to think about, what am I putting into my brain? Like when I'm playing Xbox or whatever, and I'm playing violent games, should I really be doing that? Is that doing a lot more to my brain than what I think it is? I don't know. Anyways, he said, so what's probably going to happen is it's going to go from, it went from 24/7 to 12/7, and then it's going to go, maybe once a day it's going to hit you. And I'm like, okay. And then he said it might go to once a week and maybe once a month and maybe once a year. And I'm like, okay. And then he says, it might, you don't know with, everybody, but likely it's not going to go ahead and ever leave you totally. And you might have a cycle of every 3 to 5 years. And it's fascinating. The brain is just fascinating. It's just like, if you're an atheist and you're listening to this, it's okay. You can be an atheist. It's like, it is what it is. Now, that would be another great podcast. I'm hoping you guys are right. Like this will be like the brain, like you got to know it didn't evolve. This did not evolve. This was created. Some intelligent design. I get created. The brain is amazing. And they say in brain science that a girl who gets hit on the head, like gets in an accident and she has physical brain damage, if she's been sexually abused, the brain doesn't know the difference between physical abuse and emotional, mental, sexual abuse. The brain doesn't know. I mean, this is brain science. They're like, and I believe it with my wife. I believe it with my wife. It's as if she was in an accident, had a head-on collision, and it's just, people, whenever I start talking about this and she's around, people will always look, every single time they'll look at her. Because they'll be like, is she okay with him talking about it? And they can't tell. There's no emotion. There's no anger. There's nothing. It's like, it's just blank. It's just, there's no tears. There's no anger. There's nothing. It's just.
Did she ever reach a point where she could feel any emotion when talking or processing it?
The last time her dad and she was in the background, he was on speakerphone. The last time we talked, and he said, he went ahead and said, I said, listen, if you like to go ahead and even consider being in a relationship, you abused your daughter for 7 years. That I know. Like you, at least, maybe more. So that's a given. I know that. And he got angry and he said, "That's not true." I said, "Well, it actually is true." He said, "I didn't have to tell you what I told you." He said, he says, he said, I said, "Rosanna, like this is like I've been through this, buddy, like 35 years of marriage. Like I've been through this. I've seen this. We've had conversations. You don't make this stuff up. What she's doing, you don't make it up. It's not made up memories. I mean, there are very specifics. If she wanted to make up memories, she could have made up like and he's like, she's lying. And holy cow, did she get angry? Man, did she get mad? Like she was, and she started crying, and she's like, she was so angry with him.
Good.
Yeah.
It's like gaslighting her, basically.
Well, it's like
Sorry?
there was a sense of justice. It's like there was this sense of no, not it's like there was a sense of justice. There wasn't, I'm just going to let it happen. And I think that's what happens, especially, one of her therapists said, he groomed her from a little girl.
Yeah.
And so when it happened at 12, and she related, well, that's when I also saw her. Like she was sitting on, and we were both in the bathroom. We had a large bathroom, and she was sitting on the jacuzzi tub, and I was in the closet sitting on the floor. And we were going through what, the therapist said, hey, and so, and all of a sudden, like we're talking, and she closes her eyes, and then her whole body tenses up. And she says, I'm 12 years old, and he did this and this and this to me. And she started shaking. And essentially what he did is, young kids curious, as they get curious about the sexual stuff, they'll play doctor. And essentially that's what he did with her. So his brain, like there's compassion for him. Like the poor guy, like I don't know what happened to him in childhood, but he's a growing man. And he's, so he would have been probably, she was 12, he would have been probably 32, maybe 29. So I think he was 17, 18 years older than her. So he'd have been 29, 32, she's 12. And yeah, we could go into like that, like his brain damaged big time.
Yeah.
And that's where when we talk to FBI and people in the, that deal with this type of thing, it's like if a man sexually abuses a woman, if he rapes her, sexually abuses her, that's one level of depravity. But when you do it to a child, to a girl, or when a man does it to a boy, it's a whole different level. It's an addiction. And it's why, it's why if you don't catch it and stop it, it will continue on. So we'll probably do one more rapid part 2 of part 5. And so there is healing, there is hope. I think if you embrace the pain, do the 2 things or whatever things it is appropriate for you, your brain will you'll have superpowers literally because of this. I mean, you will have, and nobody told me I was smart until I turned 40, so this happened at 19. And so it didn't take me, it took me 2, 3 years to heal, but it's taken me my whole life to stay healed. Getting healed easy, that's not hard. I mean, I think it's easy. Staying healed is hard because those memories are hard coded. Like they're hard coded in your brain. And so when those memories hit, and so every 3 to 5 years, they'd come back around, and then I'd have to go and say, okay, what did I do? So I have to go into war mode. I have to go into fight mode. Like it's not flight mode. It's not avoiding these things. It's going into absolute warrior mode. And then I'd feel good for another 3 to 5 years. And that happened for, 36 years. And Jonathan's death, our oldest son, which is June 17th, coming up in another 16 days, his 5th anniversary of his death through suicide, gunshot to the head. And, our youngest son, 19, Tim, was in the room when it happened. And I was so thankful when that happened, that what happened to me, 37 years prior to, I'm so thankful for that. So your brain can actually learn how to process trauma and like eat it for lunch. Like it's not trauma, it's fine. Like it's not a big deal. Like give me more and I'll just eat it. So there's this fish in the ocean, I understand, and it's deep into the ocean where it can't see. It's got eyes, but it can't see because it's so far, it's only dark. But they say that this fish can eat atomic waste. And it's fine. It's how I am. Like, it's fine. So Jonathan, I healed in 24 hours, maybe to the minute. But I knew it's going to be a lifetime. And so we'll cover that in part 2 of this one here, because I think all of that interconnects. It's pretty interesting. Hopefully you'll enjoy part 2. Hopefully this whole series has been helpful for you, for sure. My heart goes out. You'll see in part 2 on what I mean.